Success Mantra is a program which features people, successful individuals from various walks of life. They are less known heroes who believe in their dreams and have conviction to live their full potential. Idols, icons, innovators who care to live every moment on their own terms.
So, welcome to another edition of Success Mantra, and it gives me a lot of pride and celebration in inviting today's guest. He's a person, though a HR professional, he has taken a complete 360 degrees towards, I guess, spirituality and Indian wisdom. His purpose in life is to promote Indian wisdom across the globe. And, through all his work, whether it's professional or personal, this is what his endeavor has been. So, welcome Rajesh Kamath with us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Great
namaskar
pleasure
to
to
you
be with
as well. Yeah, as per the Indian tradition, today is Navami. And I
Yes.
hope you have sent some enlightening words about Navami to us.
You will get on Dashera in about couple of hours because evening onwards we start celebrating Dashera. So I have already prepared the outline for that because I strongly feel, Sonali, everyone must know better than just the normal 10 heads of evil and they should burn. It is something that I feel everyone should enlighten themselves on. What does this really mean to me rather than see outside and only enjoy the rituals?
Yeah, yeah. So, Rajesh, welcome to this show in Success Mantra, and we kind of feature people like you who's actually passionate about doing something totally different and enjoying it completely in their lives. So, tell us more how from HR you transition to Indian wisdom, and the journey of it.
So, Sonali, I think this is the true HR.
Is it? Okay. How come
This
it's
is the
not
true
there in
HR.
any of the HR, education which is there?
That's what I'm attempting to do. Okay, you brought me bang into it.
Sure.
HR as we know it, just think about it. It has all been defined by someone for us. When I say for us, I mean us as Indians, which is one of our identities for sure, who we are as a nation. And it has been defined by those who probably defined the rest of education for us in the last 100 years. Now, what I mean by this is that all our education got dictated by those who ruled over us. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a fact that we never questioned whether is this exactly what we need.
Absolutely.
And we never question what happened to that which was part of our education before they came, before we were invaded.
True, true, true.
So finally, to answer your question, I think human relations or even human resources, whatever you put for that R, is about how do we get the best out of ourselves and everyone around us.
Absolutely.
And nothing better than Indian wisdom, Indian management to be able to do that. That's how I reached this. So, Sonali, to your question, I saw it as a natural extension of HR. Never thought that I was actually doing something vastly different, even though it appears so.
Interesting. So, Rajesh, I am really keen to know that did it come as a byproduct of your HR education or your exposure to corporates or you read a book? What happened actually that, because most of us as a HR and training expert, we get so sucked into the day to day of our numbers of whether it's development or hiring or promotion appraisals and those things. So how did you manage to really step out of that zone of complexity into something which is so resourceful? Because I really envy you, you know, like, believe you me, from the time I've started reading some of this and all the shares that you have, especially during Indian festivals, I really appreciate them. And as a coach community, you know, like all our colleagues also, I'm sure they gain this insight that, you know, something which we are doing today is so intricately related to the entire Gurukul mechanism which used to
Right.
thrive in our yesterdays. So tell us exactly
Yeah.
what happened that triggered this.
Right. If I were to pick a few elements that made this happen,
Mhm.
I'd say that probably the seed is sown in all of us when we are children, because we are told stories, we read Amar Chitrakatha. I don't know if,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We have grown on them.
yes. So the curiosity is there, mind you. But most of us, or the serials we saw, you know, Ramayana, Mahabharat, Vikram or Betal. Now, that seed was sown when I was a kid.
Right.
In 99, in the year 99, an unexpected event happened. A gentleman walked into the office that I was working in. I was responsible for that office in Pune, uninvited. And he floored me by one is the way in which he spoke and his knowledge of Vedant and how he combined the two in a regular conversation.
Sure.
I was so impressed that I said, you must speak to our people.
Right.
And one thing led to another, and he ended up doing a series of sessions which worked powerfully, not just with me, but with everyone. I think that was the second, I would say, nourishment for that seed,
Wow.
which was planted when I was a child. Second. Third, a gentleman walked into my office. So I think my office has been very important. 5 years later, when I used to be in the Mahindra group.
Okay.
And this, someone in my office working then said that I have a friend waiting in the reception and he teaches Chanakya.
Wow.
Again, something went up over here and that bulb told me that find out more. Okay. One thing led to another, and what he did got me even more curious about Indian wisdom. So you could say by about 2007, Sonali, it started a journey for me. But that journey came to its head because I was responsible for leadership development programs at the Mahindra Group.
Sure.
And everybody noticed, but I noticed it the most, that almost everything that happened there was all manufactured in the West. Everything in leadership development. That means whether it was examples of great organizations, examples of wonderful leadership, example of organizations who had managed their success very well, things like that. And several felt it, but probably they said it in hushed tones, that how come nothing is from India? And hence, finally, when I reached a situation in 2013, when I was to start what would be my first entrepreneurial venture, I decided I won't do more of the same. That now is the time to differentiate. Mind you, at that point in time, the purpose was not solid yet.
Right.
But I decided it's time to differentiate a little bit from the rest by exploring the application of Indian wisdom into organizations. But when I started on that journey, Sonali, it was so exciting and fascinating that I think I knew within the next 6 to 7 months that this is for life, and I had become completely committed to the purpose of Indian wisdom. Everything else only became a reinforcer. You know, the books that you mentioned, or meetings with few other people who are already in that field. But I think that seed is there in each one of us. Some of us let it grow. Some of us, I guess, we sow another seed from another country.
No, very interesting. So, Rajesh, the extension to that question would be, um, did you have Sanskrit when you were in school, or did you learn Sanskrit thereafter? Because a lot to do with Indian Vedas or what we study. See, it's a nice thing that we have seen the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and listen to these stories, but it has all been in our mother tongue, or like in our own vernacular language, that we have heard all this. But when it comes to really propagating or coming up with this leadership series and stuff, then Sanskrit becomes very essential, to such an extent that even during marriage, right, all the mantras which are chanted and recited by the purohits and all, you don't even understand what is going on. You just know that okay, you're getting committed to something. And it's really sad that in our schools, Sanskrit as a feature has not been made compulsory, although all our prayers, all our festivals, everything is based on that. So what's your take on it? Do you think to practice this you have to really master Sanskrit?
Very valuable question. So, you said not made compulsory. I didn't even have Sanskrit as an optional subject in my school.
Oh my God.
I don't know whether I felt bad about it then, because this bug hadn't bitten me in any way. But
Right.
of course, I did feel even as a child that how come my school has only French and Marathi? Why not Sanskrit? But I just disregarded it.
Mm.
Thereafter, I never felt the need for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And I guess I was fairly Western in my thought process. Okay, I'm saying fairly because, yeah, there were at times when certain things really got my attention, but
Mhm.
fairly.
Mhm.
Uh, it's so coming to now Sanskrit, whether I know.
Mhm.
Okay, now here's the interesting thing. I started reading Sanskrit. I started reading literature in Sanskrit even before I started learning Sanskrit. What happened is, so there are different ways of doing things.
Okay.
What happened is Indian wisdom became very interesting to me.
Mm.
But if you notice, a large number of people, this could include, our friends, could include even you. Most of us choose to then read the Indian stuff in English.
Yeah.
Correct, because we feel that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Gradually, it dawned on me, it must be an inner intelligence. It dawned on me that, and I was doing the same to begin with. It
Mm-hmm.
dawned on me that this doesn't feel right.
Right.
That means certain meanings, translations didn't feel right. Just put it that way. I didn't know what about it, but it was intuitively not right.
Right.
So that made me extremely inquisitive about then what is it originally.
Mm.
So it started with Chanakyan wisdom. First, a small book, not a very small book. It's called Chanakya on Management, which I started reading very carefully. Then I started reading the Arthashastra, and trust me, when I started first reading it, I couldn't make out anything. Because for starters, because of the, now, many people may know the sandhi is the combination of words. Sanskrit sounds like one long sentence. So it used to, it scared me initially. But continuous effort made me slowly learn by myself. And I started figuring out how many words were combined with other words. I used online dictionary and so on and so forth. Dheere, 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 I started picking up more. So much so that in the last, till maybe about about a year back, I hadn't even started any effort in learning Sanskrit. But I could read, if I had an English translation available over there, I would use the English translation only to validate my understanding, which generally would be about 60-70% right. It's only in the last 1 year plus, Sonali, that I have made any effort. I've not gone to any class of Sanskrit or any Sanskrit camp. I picked up a couple of books from time to time trying to learn, but that also confused the hell out of me. Finally, I started paying attention to the words and making notes of things that I did not understand. Now, online, listening to many sessions, lectures, no constant this. I think I'm about 25% there now. Awesome. And I can follow a conversation or anything in Sanskrit at least 75%. Now I have no fear of Sanskrit. And I can probably even make small conversations in Sanskrit.
Wow. That's really cool, Rajesh, because, it's been some time that even I have felt that need, right? So when we do these leadership interventions and all, and there are certain things that you want to call out from what we have heard about and the different characters, because they are so vivid in what they do and how they lead, right?
Right.
So that's when I had asked my daughter, because she did Sanskrit and she's like extremely good at it. I said, why don't you teach me, right? So that's when I started picking up some of it in using in my interventions and stuff. But I still feel so scared. I think that's the word, that you just have to drop it and say that end of the day, it's your, it's your heritage, it's your culture, which is there in your blood, right? So how far can you be, right? The seed has to be somewhere close to the tree.
It's very easy, Sonali. All you need to do is start.
Right. So, I'm getting a lot of encouragement there. Let me say that. Very cool. So, Rajesh, very interesting journey from corporate HR. You started your own venture, and now you are into these Vedic literature and all of this, and calling out the leadership kind of values and behaviors which needs to be nurtured across. So tell us, in the context to your journey in this, right? The Indian wisdom. What does success mean in this context?
Absolutely. Success in Indian wisdom is a world apart from modern management, Sonali. Success in Indian wisdom is bringing prosperity to all of the universe. Starting with humankind, even though I'm making this differentiation. But everything that is there in the universe, including other species. And I use the word prosperity by design. Because prosperity is not financial success or well-being.
Tell us a little.
Prosperity is much more.
Prosperity. Yeah, what is prosperity?
Right. So prosperity means everything that contributes to that individual's life in being complete. For example, if whether you or me, let's say consider me, if I had loads of money, but I didn't enjoy the relationships in my life, would it make that money feel good? The answer is no. If I had excellent relationships, but I didn't have good health, again, would I be able to enjoy it? No. So prosperity means you have health, you have relationships, you have the goodwill of people, you have learning, and plus you have wealth. So when all of these components come together, not just for you, but for everyone in your ecosystem, you are catalyst to it, then that is success in the Indian context, Sonali.
Nice.
So it's never individual, it's for the community.
So now let me ask you a controversial question.
Yes.
Which I love doing. So in your context to Indian wisdom, if we had to look at somebody like Donald Trump, how successful is he?
Since I don't know him personally, I think in his present role, he's fairly successful. Why do I say that? Because if he's even landed in a position to influence the lives of millions of people, first off, US, and by virtue of the fact that US is considered, one of the successful nations, influences the future of the world. I think that's a phenomenal position to be in. So I would say how successful he will continue to be, I can't tell. But being democratically elected to the role of influencing the lives of millions of people across the world is definitely part of the success journey.
Wow, as diplomatic as ever. Very well done. Rajesh, that was great. No, the reason why I asked this question is, to your definition of success in Indian wisdom, success you are saying is prosperity of the universe, things around you or the environment, right?
Yes.
I don't know, this is a question as well as my thought process, which I wanted to validate, that in modern world, and even the children have started questioning us, right? The way you are leading life, is it conducive for the universe, for the environment? And the reactions are already being seen. So whether we see a corona or whether we see in terms of, like this pandemic, various aspects which are emerging, which is, also an outcome of being consumeristic society for so many years, coming up with various solutions, which are solutions of yesterday, but problems of tomorrow, and what kind of world we are creating. So that's the reason people who are visualized as hugely successful, whether it's, Donald Trump or whether it's Mukesh Ambani's of the world, are doing a great job in business, but how much are they being empathetic towards the universe? Because, building towers, these telephone towers across,
Correct.
or, like coming up with discriminations of, people should live in this part of the globe or that part of the globe, and so on and so forth. Or even, the animals, the climate change, and so many other things are happening. So I know I'm putting you on a spot with this.
Not at all.
I do understand that Indian wisdom alone, when adopted by a fraction of the population in the world, cannot do much. But yes, what are some of the values that we can cull out from Indian wisdom, which can help us inculcate this value, which you just mentioned, prosperity of the universe and the environment? Correct. Is so well said and well defined. I would just love to kind of, take this to every school and say what you teach is fine, but this is a value you need to inculcate in children, which, some of them already have. Maybe we need to kind of have more of it. So what's your take on that, and what are the values and behaviors which you feel that it's high time we take a stock of those things and take a
Absolutely.
call on them?
Sonali, I love these questions.
And
They don't put me in a spot. It gives me a great opportunity to respond to what I really want to say. So thanks so much. See, the number one value of leadership in the Indian context is to take full ownership.
Sure.
Whatever has happened in the world today, Sonali, you and I are responsible for it equally.
Wow. Okay, tell me more.
Because we have been part of that which created this.
Sure.
So now you can say, how can I correct the wrong that all that happened earlier? I cannot. But can you do something about it now? Answer is yes. So ownership puts us in a position of leadership to take initiative to do many more right things, which hopefully will build a ripple effect till it offsets the wrong that is happening. Okay, let me tell you, therefore, with personal example, what I'm choosing to do. You know a little bit about it, but I know not sufficiently. Education is not right. The way organizations are run is probably not completely right, just as you mentioned. So what do we do about it? So what I decided is that along with a strong believer in the same principles, which incidentally a client with whom I worked for bringing in some of these values, a very wonderful gentleman called Praful, we got together along with another few people who had the same belief system. And we created what I will say are the first shoots of an online Gurukul that would teach Indian wisdom for creating leaders just the way modern institutions do. And this leadership is so open source. It does not restrict itself to business or to society or for politics or for education. Whoever will be associated with this in whatever form will not escape being touched by the wisdom that our ancestors created. So this little experiment called Chiranjeev Gurukul is an effort by me and others, where I am saying that if we can't correct what went wrong, especially with education, because mind you, you asked me where did this bug bite me, and I told you leadership taught in organizations is all in the foreign mold. So I'm trying to correct that for the future by saying, here you have an option. Sure, you can also learn what is being taught otherwise. Please do it. But here also you have a great option to learn what is this prosperity that I just spoke about, Sonali. And people can learn, and let me tell you, Indian wisdom will be taught in such, I'm not saying great detail, wrong term. It will be taught in its true nature, not through teaching only. We won't be teaching Sanskrit. Of course, we'll be using some Shastra, but it'll be taught in the modern way to people who want to make a difference to the world. So tomorrow's world may create a combination of Donald Trump and Swami Vivekananda.
Wow.
That's a short answer to your question. The number one value is ownership. You take charge for what you want to create in the future.
Wow, क्या बात है. Combination between Vivekananda and Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
I'm really waiting to see this. Yeah, this is no less than any rocket science.
Yes, it does seem like that.
It does. So interesting work, Rajesh, and you have had great transitions, and currently you are doing this amazing work, which I'm sure is to bring a lot of corrections in the society, which is on the positive mode. Tell us, what are the behaviors in you, which has, or traits or values, which has really helped you achieve various goals and success in life.
Right. I think a lot of these, Sonali, I discovered only in the last 15 years or so,
Mhm.
which I'm going to share, because some of these I didn't find in myself before that.
Okay.
And one of the most important ones, as you know,
Mm.
is to create communities of people. It definitely was not part of me in much younger days. Through school and junior college, at least I didn't discover it.
Mhm.
That's how I can put it. But I started discovering this during my graduation. I went to engineering college in Pune. Slowly, I became part of creating things with people in it. So I was part of creating the annual festival
Mm.
and then participated in intercollegiate festival. But then I thought that was just a social activity. I didn't pay much attention to it.
Mm.
Then, in 2002 was the first opportunity, not by design, where I went about co-creating a community of HR folks called More Than HR.
Mm.
That was one thing which I discovered, which became the biggest positive, because the strength of creating communities, Sonali, is really going to help us bring change that we want to do. So even today in Indian wisdom, and let me tell you again a very small incident. So I already told you 6 years back, 6+ years back, I started this work of Indian wisdom.
Right.
Now, it somehow appealed to me the idea that I shouldn't restrict myself to only professional work. Why don't I also see if there are other people who would be interested in learning this?
Mm.
So I used to teach once upon a time in a college in Pune. A student from there, obviously she was working now, she
Mm.
showed interest. She said, "Can you teach me?" So I said, "I can teach you, but if there is one person who's interested, there must be more."
Mm.
So we created a community, that time 5 people. Today it is nothing less than 100 people strong, Sonali. So one leadership trait which I'll encourage everyone to explore is the ability to create communities, not with uh, financial interest.
Mm.
That's one. I want to share just one more because I think this conversation is a very long one.
Yeah.
The second one is to look at how, because I spoke about community, how can we leverage this community in such a way that people love being part of it, that they belong there.
Mm.
And to do that, you have to create the benefit of each member of it.
Right.
Otherwise, why would they be there?
Absolutely.
So when you see me, for example, sending these things for festival,
Mm.
right? I create this small write-up. Initially, I used to borrow things from the net. Of course, the compilations were my own. I still claim they are compilations because that wisdom is not my original wisdom. But now I write these based on all that I have learned earlier. This goes to thousands of people
Mm.
through about 25 communities, 25 WhatsApp groups that I'm part of. So many of them reach out, some put it on the group itself, and there are several who reach out to me and say that, Rajesh, today is so and so festival. I didn't see your post. What does this mean? Believe me, I still have an account in my mind. Sonali, there are at least 3 people I have to respond to.
Sure.
जिसको मैंने आंसर नहीं दिया है कि इसका क्या मीनिंग हुआ. What I'm saying is that I've been fortunate to create a goodwill account. So they take this response out of me, and it helps me win their trust and confidence. I don't know whether it will benefit in some way, but I know that definitely, I have a place in their mind.
Right. Beautiful. So, definitely this probably is a larger conversation. But you're sharing about building communities is very, very interesting. And I think it is one of the most important aspects, because that's how we got our independence, right? Because if we
Correct.
get a movement
Beautiful.
and a community, then we would still be kind of under a different rule, right?
Yes.
So that way we have to be thankful
Hang
to
on. Great example.
freedom fighters in bringing this on. And I'm sure that this community that you're building for the Indian wisdom will get us our freedom back in terms of the heritage that we carry.
Wow.
So definitely.
Wow, that's so nice of you to say.
Awesome. So amongst all of these various aspects, which is the biggest achievement of yours is what you feel, Rajesh?
I think the biggest achievement is still to come, Sonali. Whatever has been accomplished.
When you look back, not when you are 60, 70, you look back, yeah, you have done this amazing revolution and brought the change. That's going to be another one. We will do, conversation with Rajesh 3.0. But
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
How do you look back? Yeah.
I think I created an awareness of the need to think beyond Western or modern management in organizations. Now, what I mean by that very briefly is that, see, whenever I speak to people, now they know I'm in this space. I know individuals often take names of, friends like Devdutt Patnaik or someone else in that space, Amish Tripathi and all. But remember, these are very good people, but by and large, I see them as, my perception could be wrong, I see them as influencers of people and society. And in the corporate space, the work is very limited. But Sonali, all my work, 100% of what I do in my work through Consulting Insights is in the corporate space arena, the same space where I was an employee.
Right.
And we are changing the mindset there. And lots of people, Sonali, today are very happy that they explored this. So I think that's some small achievement that I will take some credit for, that at least in the same space where this was never part of the doing, thinking perhaps, yeah, okay, good to invite a speaker once in a while who says big things about Indian wisdom. Doing of it, can I manage using Indian wisdom? Can I lead organizations using Indian wisdom? Answer is yes.
Sure.
And there are examples today which I'm able to show. So that's one small achievement, Sonali. I think that's nothing. But I think when you do my, I think you'll also be a great celebrity, no small one. You are on a fantastic path, Sonali. But when we meet several years later, I'll be very happy to report to you that, look, global organizations are using Indian wisdom. Then I will say it's an achievement.
That, I guess, is already happening, right? So if you see a person like Sadhguru, right? But it's still at a guru level, right? That, like you have to...
Not doing.
a different aura to be heard, right? That yes, you can also talk about Indian wisdom. You are a part of this, like Indian soil, and you have the same sentiments, right? That is acceptable only from gurus, right? And I'm
Yeah, and it's not at the doing level, no, Sonali.
yeah.
It's not at the doing level. If I were to ask you, Sonali, tell me one organization that plans for all their work
Hmm.
using tools from Indian management.
Hmm.
You'll please tell me if you know any.
No, I don't know any. Is there any?
Of course, today all our clients are doing that. And I
Wow.
can point you to them. Because there is a tool called Panchang of Chanakya, which enables you to do impeccable planning.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. So the example of taking it to organization, not philosophical,
Yeah.
practical.
Awesome. So, Rajesh, one more thing when we are on this path, um, if we can have some role models from the Indian wisdom, who are the ones who you want
Wow.
to hold and say, hey, you know what, look at this guy, and you know what leadership is all about and what needs to be done at any point in time during the time of challenge.
Yeah. So if I say Chanakya, it would be way too obvious. So I'm going to choose Chandragupta Maurya,
Okay.
and then his grandson Ashok,
Hmm.
Chakravarti Ashok, Samrat Ashok
Okay.
are two great examples. But of course, these are from historic times. The
Hmm.
third one I would state is Shivaji Raje. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is probably a phenomenal example which we have just not leveraged.
Hmm.
Role model for leadership, Sonali. Your entire work can be designed around it. But let's go to what we refer today as itihas in Indian wisdom, or mythology when we, sometimes use it in English.
Hmm.
In those times, one great example I like to use is Raja Janak, number one. Second example is one who, since you like controversial examples, Narad Muni
As a leader.
as a leader, Narad Muni as a coach.
Yeah, my first, what should I say, theater play acting was as a Narad Muni. I was the person
How blessed you are.
inquisitive that how is Narad Muni a great leader? If you could just tell me a little.
Yes, Narad Muni is a coaching leader,
Wow.
right? Even though the coaching I do uses no background that the West uses. I'm
Mm.
aware of the concepts of coaching as taught by ICF and the others, and I am very clear about the competencies that a coach has.
Are you certified?
And Narad,
Sorry,
sorry,
are you ICF certified as well?
no, I'm a Chanakya certified coach.
Okay, good.
Okay, I made that up, but
That's a good one. Okay.
we can discuss this offline. But
Sure.
trust me, we've developed a methodology. I'm not saying it's coaching. We call them Mitra sessions, Sonali. Mitra sessions are the Indian way of how do you get the best out of people. And mind you, that is not a foreign concept. That's an Indian concept since time immemorial.
Mm.
And Narad Muni did that. He did that with endless number of people. Narad Muni was able to get the best out of, I'll give you 4 examples. The most famous example is what he did to the highway robber called Ratnakar, converted into Valmiki.
That was the
He
play.
did not force him, correct? He provoked him, pushed him, questioned him. Number 1. Number 2, he did that to Prahlad.
Mm.
Prahlad was the son of Hiranyakashipu, as you know.
Right.
But he groomed Prahlad, he pushed him, nudged him towards becoming a completely different person from who his father was.
Wow.
And he made him such a believer in the divine that Prahlad created a great lineage of leaders after him, one of whom was his grandson Mahabali, after whom we celebrate both one day of Diwali as well as the festival Onam.
Ah.
Among the greatest rulers, Bali. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, he did it with a mountain called Vindhya. So he provoked the Vindhya mountains. He questioned them, questioned the mountains, and that mountain actually bent down, it is said. Of course, there's a deeper meaning behind it. But bent down because it was standing up too tall in pride. And the Vindhya mountains bent down for letting Agastya Muni travel from north to south and remain that way. Right? And the 4th example is a boy called Dhruv, which we celebrate now as the star Dhruv, the pole star. Same way, he brought out the best. So tell me, is Narad Muni a trouble creator or is he a coach? If he can create so many great people, and it is not limited, there are at least 5 more examples. So he's one of great figures. Yes.
Awesome to know this thing, this dimension, and the way he has been interpreted, thanks to you all. Because very often Narad Muni's interpretation and the way he is showcased is very different, right? Correct. So one of the things that I wanted to ask was, in context to this journey of leadership and development, so do you actually use these metaphors even with your participants and all in a setup of a workshop, or how is it? Is it outdoor? Is it indoor?
All setups. All setups, Sonali. I can see you are getting more and more excited about this. There was a time when I was very, very hesitant, naturally, because people didn't know what to expect.
Right.
Today, it is used in consulting, coaching, training, content development, and more.
Yeah. So because because in my trainings, and like I said, that's because of my fear in Sanskrit that I have not used the Indian heroes, but I have used Shakespeare. I've used the Shakespeare heroes. Like you said, that, we leverage the foreign, but we forget about our own, brethren and all the legacy and the culture that we have already in place. Now, the question that I wanted to ask you was, Bali, isn't this the person who used to say, okay, when I meet you, all your good qualities, I kind of look at them in such a way and appreciate that it becomes, part of me as well. Is this the same person?
I think, okay, I'm not sure. I'm no master, but I think you are speaking about Wali.
Wali, yeah. Because,
in Ramayana, I'm speaking about Bali.
Okay, that's the thing. Beautiful. Yeah. So, Rajesh, excellent. Thanks for this sharing. And of course, really intrigued by all of these revelations that you bring up about the Indian wisdom and stuff, and looking forward to more. While all this is great in your personal life, as well as if you can cite an example from Indian wisdom, in context to failure. So what does failure really mean in your context?
Right. In Indian wisdom, there's no such thing as permanent failure. I know it sounds very cliched, and I know in modern times we say the only failure is the one that you accept. Correct, no? That's what we say now.
True.
But there were defeats in war. but there wasn't failure because you rose again. Okay, now coming to my personal context. I feel I do have one weakness, Sonali, if I can cite it, that I think I am overconfident and I have huge loads of self-belief.
Which is
So
good.
I have, sorry?
Which is good. Why should it be failure?
So I'm saying that I don't consider that a failure. But what I want to say is because of that, I don't know a single incident which I can say, Sonali, this has been my greatest failure. Because my self-belief and my optimism tells me, you know, I'm glad that happened. It led me to something else.
No,
So
that's
then what
the DNA
failure?
of people like us. When we look
Yeah,
back, we say, "ये नहीं होता तो ये कभी होता ही नहीं." So
exactly.
obviously it is, QED, जैसे geometry में था, right? So yeah, that's the mindset and positive high that we have about life.
Yes. I acknowledge my weaknesses and setbacks. Don't get me wrong. But, I think calling anything as a failure, I'm still to arrive at. I've not arrived at such a situation. For example, I did no justice to what I feel now. I have a fair amount of ability in learning, but I didn't do justice to my engineering at all. Do I consider it a failure? No, I consider it a great success. Thank God I didn't do so great in that. That's what I call as overconfidence or positivity. I see the positive side of everything, and people sometimes ridicule it, saying that you're not calling a spade a spade. Okay, so be it.
Are you a liberal by any chance?
No, I'm a out and out, not out and out actually. I'm a Leo, but I seem to have a lot more of Virgo traits, which is my Kanya Rashi. Kanya Rashi.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great one. So, Rajesh, that's great to know because I guess in our profession, when we look at the mirror every single day, right? The Queen story, how good do I look, right? It's very important when you look at yourself and you're able to feel positive in spite of all the letdowns which have happened in life, right? Because you
Right.
see those as the sculpting without which you wouldn't be the person that you are today, right? So
Beautiful.
I completely, kind of
Very
resonate
well said.
with that thought. Awesome. So, Rajesh, thank you so much for being with us, sharing Indian wisdom, and looking forward to more of it because there's so many questions, of course. Yeah, as you see, my excitement around. So, what's the mantra or the message that you would like to share with our audience today?
Yes. Thanks. So, Sonali, just one, which I leave the audience with, which I say all the time. Any field that excites you, be it sport, be it medicine, be it management, be it architecture, be it biology, please look for what Indian wisdom has to say about it. It will take your career to new limits because there's so much available there, and that too untapped, unexplored, that you will be the first one to bring that to the world. You will face opposition, but when you eventually get some recognition for it, you will find that that work is absolutely brilliant. So folks, whoever's watching this, please go deeper into Indian wisdom. Don't worry about Sanskrit. Trust me, there's English translation available for everything. But whatever field you are in, you will find Indian wisdom for it. Dig deeper and you'll come up with some insights which nobody in the world today has.
Wow. Is it only Indian wisdom, or is it, is it because it is our DNA and it runs in our blood, that's why we associate better with it?
Yeah, good question. So all of older civilizations have this, Sonali. When
Okay.
I say Indian wisdom, of course, I'm saying that because it's most easily available to us and it's part of our DNA.
Right.
But if you were to look at any ancient civilizations, whether it is uh, Greek, whether it is Mayan, whether it is Egyptian, maybe even Chinese and Japanese, any of the older civilizations, they have the same, I would say, ingredients. I'm not sure whether it's as rich. It's my ignorance. I don't know enough.
Right.
But I can say that it's available in older civilizations, maybe because the benefit of thousands of years of living, Sonali. How can the modern, civilizations of hardly 2000 years old have all of this? So we have the advantage of at least 5000 plus years head start. I say it must be thousands and thousands of years, but that's not proven yet.
Wow.
But it's true.
Right.
Hence, otherwise, not saying that we are superior, but we have lot available.
Sure.
Please learn.
Awesome. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Rajesh. Dear friends, that was Rajesh with Indian wisdom and how this can really change and transform your life. You don't need to be scared about Sanskrit if you are not done that in your schooling or whatever, because everything is available in English. And of course, it gives you a different insight as it's part of our DNA and part of our culture. So thank you so
Thanks so
much.
much, Sonali, for
Yeah,
the opportunity. I think it was great, most of all, chatting with you. Thanks for taking this to the people. And thanks to all our gurus.
thanks
Bye
to
bye. Bye
bye.
bye.